wondering, I actually do have some audio recording of me watching last night's 31-30 Oakland Raiders win over Kansas City. And I'll play it for you very quickly. It's just a short snippet of the actual live recording of me watching the game last night.
I'm dying. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey.
You know what I'm talking about. It's an absolute heart attack of the game last night. I'm pretty sure I died like 3 or 4 times watching that thing. I was just completely insane. If we have a more, crazy and insane and back and forth and heart-stopping game this season, I'm going to have to go on like Zoloft or something. You got to give me some high-powered barbiturates because my nervous system can't take it. So the thing about this game, and I don't want to, go into it a little bit too optimistic with too much, perspective of it being wine and roses, because there are a lot of things Raiders did wrong in this game. There are a lot of really big mistakes they made that could have cost them the game. And, you tend to kind of overlook that when you win, when you have a really big victory like this. So, I'll already get that out of the way before we get to the good stuff. But still, going into this game, this was an absolute must-win. This game saved the Raiders season because you go into it, you lost 4 games in a row. You've lost 2 divisional games back-to-back. You're already in a really, really big hole. And I went into this game saying, if the Raiders don't win this one, the season is done. I mean, they're in a hole they just can't get out of. This is a game where if they're turning on things, they have got to win this one. And sure as sugar, they did. They won. They found a way. It was not easy. It required the Derek Carr to throw 3 touchdown passes at the end of the game. Literally, 3 touchdown passes it took for them to win this game. But it happened. It's the first game in NFL history to go beyond. It was like a negative 0.02 on the clock when the Raiders won the game. So, I mean, that ending is just historic. This is going to go without question in the great archives of insane Raiders games. There have been a lot of crazy ones, but this one, one of the craziest of my lifetime for sure. But yeah, as far as the game, what was the X factor for the Raiders? Well, I think there are 2 things. Number one, if you look at the offensive play calling, Todd Downing did something drastically different than what he's been doing the last, 6 games of the season. First 6 games of the season, he ran a very conservative pass to set up the run sort of offense, which worked for some teams, but even with Marshawn Lynch kind of underperforming, Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington not really doing that. They're not powerful enough backs to kind of set that tempo up. I mean, it worked the first 2 games of the season, but it was really, really flawed in the last 4 games. So going into this game, completely different game plan. They're saying, you know what, this run to pass thing, not doing it. Let's just play like it's 2016, y'all. We're going to air it out. We're going to be throwing for 20 yards, absolute minimum on every play. We're going for the long ball. Amari Cooper, you're our guy. Michael Crabtree, when it's down clutch in the end zone, you're going to be our guy. And that's it. Everybody else just stand back, hold up the pocket, and we're good. And it worked. And last night we saw the glorious return of AC/DC. The stats don't lie. Derek Carr, 29 for 52, 417 yards, and 3 touchdown passes. Not sacked once. He got hit a couple times, but nothing too major. Finished the game with a quarterback rating of 84.6. Hell of a game. And of course, the guy catching the bulk of the passes, Amari Cooper, 11 receptions. It's not just the fact that he had 210 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 19.1 yards per catch. That's big. It's the fact that he's actually not only getting targeted, he was targeted 19 times more than any other receiver, like by double. It's the fact that he's hauling them in. That's the big problem with Amari Cooper. He hasn't been able to catch the passes. He caught them last night, and he caught the big ones. If AC/DC can keep this up, this is a team that's going to be very, very dangerous down the stretch. That explosive offense, they can turn the game around on a dime. So this is definitely the most 2016-esque game we've had of the year so far. There were so many nail-biters last year. I'm not sure if my heart can take much more of these, but they won. Kind of interesting thing as far as the rushing differential. DeAndre Washington led with 33. Of course, Marshawn Lynch, he got ejected for pushing a ref. And in true Raiders fashion, the most Raidery thing in Raider history, he didn't leave the game. He just put a mask on and watched it in the stands because that's what we do when you're a Raider. So yeah, the run game really wasn't that big of a factor. And it's one of those things where, looking back on it in hindsight, hold on now, if Marshawn Lynch hadn't been ejected, and it's 4th and 1 with 0 on the clock, with the Raiders trying to win the game, I mean, there's a very strong chance instead of going for the pass, they would have relied on Marshawn Lynch, and he may not have got it in. That could have cost them the game. So maybe, in a weird roundabout way, having Marshawn Lynch not available as that utility player on fourth down may have won the game. So, not saying Marshawn Lynch doesn't have a utility, because he certainly does. It's just we saw what's going on in this game. You know, you saw Derek Carr who has done all season, where he's like rolling out of the pocket, where he's got like 4 or 5 seconds to throw a pass. I mean, you do that, you're going to rack up some serious yardage. And when Derek Carr gets a lot of yards, the Raiders win. That is a time-tested formula, and something we got to keep in mind moving forward. All right, so we talked about the positives, negatives. The victory, don't let that taint the reality that the Chiefs still got a lot of yardage. Alex Smith, 331 yards, threw 3 touchdown passes. Tyreek Hill, 125 yards. We saw a lot of these guys just get absolutely burnt. We saw David Amerson in the secondary get torched on like a 64-yard pickup. There was a point where the Chiefs, they were down at their own 1-yard line. They went 99 yards for points on the board. Right now, the defensive difficulty clearly is in the secondary because it's David Amerson trying to do it all by himself. Sean Smith is not a factor. Garyon Conley's hurt. It's just a depleted secondary at this point. I mean, that's kind of been part and parcel of the Raiders' big defensive woes for the last couple of years now. Still not a solved problem because everybody's injury prone. So if you want to be a sustainable team and play, far into January, they got to get that remedied as soon as possible. But of course, with the interior linebacking, they also first game of Navarro Bowman. First game on the field, of course, he'd lead the team in tackles. Why not? Because you got something to prove. That's traditional Raider play, though. You pick the guys who are pissed off and feel slighted and underappreciated, let them go buck wild for revenge, and they do it for you. Stopping the run, I thought the Raiders did a little bit better than expected. Kareem Hunt, he still got 87 yards, but still, 94 yards in the day for Kansas City, not bad. You kind of expect them to kind of do like 150 every game, so they did a pretty good job stopping that. Getting torched down the sideline, what else is new? But the thing that really terrified me about this game is special teams, because Giorgio, he missed that chip shot. It almost looked like he went wide right on that one kick at the very end that would have put the game in overtime and just keep it going on and on. That was utterly horrifying, but he hooked it. And week 8, Sebastian Janikowski, I believe, is cleared to come back. So what do we do? Just a little interesting little subplot as we finish on to the second half of the season. So there's all that. Big takeaway from all this. Raiders are 3-4. They've got some difficult games coming up. If they would have fell to 2-5, season's over. But now they're 3-4. They've got a very, very tough game coming up against Buffalo next Sunday. Not this Sunday, of course, but next Sunday. I believe that's at Buffalo. T-Mobile, he represents a threat the Raiders really haven't seen all season long, and that is a truly mobile quarterback, a guy who's a threat running and passing. And I don't know if the Raiders have really been able to contain that. It hasn't really been a sort of offensive scheme they've seen a whole lot of this year. So that's going to be a big test. So you kind of figure going 4-4, and it's going to be necessary because I think the ceiling for making the playoffs this year in the AFC, you got to win at least 10 games. So going 10-6, absolute minimum. You've already lost 4 games. You got to be on a roll, and there are some hard games coming up. You got Jay Cutler and Dolphins, not a good team on paper, but somehow they win games. You got the big Mexican City standoff against the Patriots. You've still got Dallas. You've got the Eagles. You've got the Giants. You've still got the Denver and Kansas City again, Chargers again. These are hard games. None of these are given. And the Raiders can lose all of these games. Let's don't kid ourselves. This is a team that could finish 3-13 if you don't play the cards right. So it's going to come down to this team just playing what they did last year, and really by extent what they did in this game. You got to play it vertical. You got to have the long passes. You got to get Derek Carr throwing 40, 50 times a game. You got to be going for the long pass. Cooper's got to deliver. You got to find ways to use the run game a little bit more judiciously. Defense, you got to be able to stop the run. We're seeing that improve, but stopping the deep pass horrifies me. We got to do something about that if we want to be sustainable in the long haul. Not just for this season, but just going forward as a franchise. But all that to say, one hell of a game, one of the most memorable games I've seen in my lifetime. And there have been a lot of memorable Raiders games in my lifetime, let me tell you what. So I'm thrilled, ecstatic. The Raiders get it. They win 31-30. Almost at 400. We'll see what happens at Buffalo. And from there, we enter the second half of the season. And something tells me it's going to be one hell of a roller coaster ride. Get that heart medication ready, folks. It's going to be a thriller.